The oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Howard Phillips Lovecraft. My name is Rachel. I moved to Los Angeles just a few months ago. That day, like always, after work, I got on the last bus heading home. But that night marked the beginning of my worst nightmare. The bus moved slowly down an empty street. Inside, just the driver behind the glass and a man in a hood a couple of rows away. He sat still 2 rows from me. I buried myself in my phone. It always helps pass the time on the way home. I couldn't see his eyes. The hood cast a dark shadow over the top of his face. All I could make out was stubble on his cheeks and his unmoving mouth. He sat straight, stiff, like a mannequin. When the bus slowed at my stop, I was the first to stand. The doors opened and cold air swept across my ankles. I stepped off, and seconds later I heard footsteps. The man had gotten off too. He was walking in my direction. His steps behind me were too careful, almost deliberate, as if he was trying to match my pace. When I sped up, he sped up too. A shiver ran through my whole body. I unlocked my phone camera, pretending to check notifications, and caught his reflection in a dark shop window. He wasn't looking at the road, he was staring straight at me. The street was empty. The only sound was the wind pushing a scrap of paper across the sidewalk. The night felt almost silent. I hit speed dial for my best friend, Amanda. "Hey, you home?" I whispered. "Mm-hmm," she answered, still half asleep. "Amanda, there's a guy following me from the bus. He just keeps staring, walking and staring." "Where are you?" she asked quickly. "I'm almost home." "1 street away. He's speeding up. Black hoodie, hood up, I think. I think he's wearing gloves." My voice sounded thin and strange, like it belonged to someone else. "Call 911 right now," Amanda said, alarm creeping into her tone. "I will just..." I didn't finish. The footsteps behind me grew louder, faster, more deliberate. Between my shoulder blades, I felt a burning tension, waiting for a hand to grab me. My mind was flooding with one thought: run. I ran as fast as I could without looking back. My bag slammed against my hip, my keys rattled, my phone nearly slipped from my hand. My throat burned with every breath. Ahead, I saw my apartment building, a brick rectangle, glass entry door with a card lock. My key card was in the side pocket of my bag. I swiped it, praying it would work. It did. I yanked the handle, shoved my shoulder into the door, and pressed myself inside. The door slammed shut behind me. I turned when the street was empty, and the wind blew dead leaves. The streetlight flickered, and in the glass door I saw only my own reflection. The man was gone. My chest heaved, my heart racing out of control. I stumbled to my apartment on the first floor. The card lock clicked, and I slipped inside, finally safe. My thoughts scrambled, trying to explain what happened. Maybe he lived nearby. Maybe he was drunk. I reached for the light switch. Click. The kitchen glowed yellow. Chair, ceramic mug, plate with a crust of bread I'd left in the morning. Everything in place. Normal. My thoughts tumbled. Make tea. Breathe. Call Mom. No. Too late. She'll be asleep. Call Amanda. I'm home. I'm okay. I did just that. After a brief call, I hung up. Then, a sound, a knock, not loud or angry. Polite, almost gentle, like a delivery driver who doesn't want to disturb. I froze. The knock came again, louder this time, as if whoever it was realized I'd heard. My stomach dropped. I stepped into the hallway, stopped before the door. My rational mind whispered, "It's a neighbor. Wrong apartment. Someone forgot their key. It happens." I leaned into the peephole. The corridor was striped by the overhead light, and in that striped corridor a hooded figure stood, not pressed up against the door, a step away, just standing there, staring straight at the door. "Who are you?" I forced out, my voice shaking. "What do you want?" Silence, long enough that I thought he hadn't heard. Then slowly he tilted his head to the side like he was listening. Straightened. I heard fabric shift. He flexed his gloved hands and said nothing. "You've got the wrong apartment." I tried again, louder, firmer. "Leave now or I'm calling the police." 1 second, 2, 3. Just as I started to step back, he moved closer. The handle jerked down, softly at first, like testing, then again harder. The whole door trembled. "Leave!" I shouted. "I'm calling the police right now." It was like he'd been waiting for that. The handle rattled violently, erratic, furious. He slammed his fists against the door, heavy blows that echoed through the wood. "I already called the cops," I screamed over the banging. "You've got 1 minute to leave." Then, silence. The handle froze. I peeked again through the peephole. He stood still for a moment, then stepped back. Another step. And then he was gone, out of sight as if he'd dissolved into the hallway. I gripped the doorframe, straining to hear footsteps. Nothing. Just the faint buzz of the ceiling light. I didn't open, I couldn't. I stood there until my back ached, until sweat trickled down my palms, and only then slowly backed away. My legs trembled as if I'd run a marathon. On the table, my phone buzzed. I flinched, almost screamed. Just a text from my carrier. Perfect timing. The night dragged on. I shoved a heavy chair against the door, sat on the floor back against the wall, listening. The fridge hummed and clicked off. Upstairs, a neighbor's bed creaked every 10 minutes. The vent carried a muffled cough from somewhere. Near morning, I must have drifted off. The alarm woke me. Sunlight poured into the hallway, making it almost cozy. For a moment, I thought the night had just been a nightmare. I checked the peephole. Empty. Carefully, I slid the chain free, turned the lock. The hallway looked ordinary, gray as always. Back inside, I boiled water for tea, took a shower, followed the morning routine as if nothing had happened. Work was waiting, but tonight I'll have to take the same route home again, the same last bus. I keep trying to find alternatives, leave work earlier, take a different street, call a taxi, ask someone to walk me home. But all those are just temporary fixes. Sooner or later, I'll still have to ride that last bus home. The small town of Ashford was one of those places where the park between the school and the residential block served as a shortcut. That night, 4 teenagers walked down that path. Ethan, Maya, Lauren, and Caleb. They were 14 to 15 years old. Their parents thought they had gone to the store for soda. In reality, they were just killing time, chatting, not in a hurry to get home. It was around 10. The park was already empty. On the playground stood a sandbox, a slide, and old swings with peeling paint. The lamps along the path didn't all work. The night wasn't pitch black. It was gray, like asphalt after rain, though no rain had fallen. They noticed him immediately. A man sat on the swings, very tall, around 6.5 feet, broad-shouldered, the hood of a sweatshirt pulled down, his face hidden in shadow. He swayed slightly back and forth and hummed a tune under his breath. Not a children's song, not anything familiar, just 3 or 4 notes repeating endlessly. The teens grew quiet and walked a little faster. "Drunk," Ethan muttered without turning his head. "Don't engage." "Just stay on the path," Maya added. "Don't look at him." Lauren couldn't help but glance over. The man kept humming, rocking gently as if he hadn't even noticed them. They walked past. 10 steps, 20. The melody was still audible behind them. Then the sound stopped. Lauren turned her head at that exact second and saw him rise sharply to his feet. The swings kept swaying on their own, but he was already standing. He was enormous, truly towering. The thought flashed. If he runs, he can catch any of us. Lauren said nothing. She didn't want to scare the others. The man took a step, then another, and suddenly broke into a run. His scream tore through the silence, not words, a raw animal scream like someone tearing their throat. The teenagers scattered in panic. Ethan bolted for the park exit. Maya dove into the lilac bushes on the right. Lauren sprinted down the lit path. Caleb veered toward the sports court using the nets and poles as cover. Their voices overlapped in confusion. Lauren heard heavy footsteps behind her, the cries of her friends. "This way, run, no!" But couldn't make out words. No one seemed to be chasing her, or maybe it just felt that way. She ran until her legs burned, and only at the gates did she dare look back. The path was empty. Beyond the gates lay a deserted street. She clutched her phone and dialed Ethan with trembling fingers. "Where are you?" she gasped. "At the exit," he said hoarsely. "By the sign with the rules." I thought, "Lauren, where's Maya?" "I don't know. I was on the alley. I don't know." They met by the gates a minute later. Ethan was covered in dirt, a scrape on his elbow. They tried calling Maya, then Caleb. Maya finally picked up sobbing, saying she was still hiding in the bushes, too afraid to move. "He ran past me. He was screaming. 'I'm not moving.'" Caleb didn't answer. "We wait 2 minutes, then go get Maya," Ethan said. "No, we call 911, Lauren insisted. They did both. Maya crept out of the bushes and ran to the gate, shaking, her voice breaking. The three of them stood together, staring toward the playground where the old swings had been creaking moments ago. Now it was silent. Lauren and Ethan walked back down the path, leaving Maya at the gate to call again. They called Caleb's name as they passed dark lamps, empty benches, and trash-strewn corners. Nothing. At the playground, Lauren spotted something glinting on the ground. Keys on a ring with a lightning bolt keychain. "They're Caleb's," she said. He'd shown it off proudly when he bought it. "Look how cool this is." Ethan picked up the keys, closed his fist around them, and shouted louder, "Caleb!" His voice echoed across the park and faded. 5 minutes later, they heard sirens. Police cars pulled up at the gates. Officers got out slowly, the way they do when they don't know what they're walking into. A fight? A drunk? They asked the kids to explain. Lauren spoke in a halting, distant voice. Ethan interrupted and stumbled over details. Maya just cried. In the end, it boiled down to this. There was a tall man in the park who chased them, and one of their friends disappeared. The officer jotted down, very tall, dark sweatshirt, jeans, maybe sweatpants. Useless details. The night dragged on. Police swept the park with flashlights. A dog picked up a scent at the swings, followed it down a path across the sports court toward a far exit where the fence was lower and the bushes thicker. The trail ended there. Another team searched along the pond's edge, shining lights into the black water. Nothing. A third checked under the bridge around trash bins near a maintenance shed. Nothing. Caleb's parents arrived close to midnight. His mother stood silently at first, watching the activity as if it didn't concern her. Then, when an officer said there was no news, she crouched down and covered her face with her hands. His father made frantic phone calls, and the school principal, the coach, neighbors. None of it helped. By 2 a.m., they brought another dog and set up portable lights. The search continued until dawn. The three friends sat by the gates. The police wouldn't let them back inside, which only deepened their guilt, as if they'd abandoned their friend in a place they weren't allowed to search. Ethan stared at Caleb's keychain. Maya paced, stopping at the fence to listen, then returning. Lauren had no one left to call. At sunrise, the park looked tired rather than frightening. Light revealed every corner, trash, rusted bolts, footprints in damp soil. Officers examined it all. On the path, they found a sneaker print that matched Caleb's size, but that meant nothing. He'd run there countless times. On the grass near the court, a patch looked trampled like a struggle had taken place. But no blood, no drag marks, nothing solid. By afternoon, yellow tape and warning signs surrounded the park. A patrol car and 2 local reporters stood at the entrance. The officer repeated the same line. "We're working on it. Please stay calm. If you saw anything, call this number online." Missing posters appeared. Caleb's photo, what he was wearing, where he vanished. Underneath, dozens of generic comments. Prayers, theories, empty words. Nothing useful. The next day, volunteers joined. They walked in lines through the park, peered into manholes, checked basements. They combed the vacant lot behind the park, the old garages, the roadside trees. They knocked on doors, spoke to dog walkers, utility workers, no trace. Sometimes it's like that. If it had been a fight gone wrong, there would have been evidence. If he'd simply run away, cameras would have caught him. The park's cameras, they were told, were partially working. One supposedly uploaded to the cloud, but the server failed that exact hour. Another showed the gate capturing 3 kids running out, but not the 4th. A store's camera caught a tall figure, but too far away to identify. Distorted, height unclear. This was a real-life nightmare, not a movie. No hair on a branch, no sudden confession. Just standard procedure. Calls, camera checks, interviews with the homeless, hospital inquiries. The town whispered, speculated, argued. The school brought in a counselor. For the friends, it felt like mockery. They didn't need therapy, they needed answers. Guilt settled differently on each. Ethan carried Caleb's lightning bolt keychain in his pocket, worn and scratched now. Maya stopped using the park entirely, even in daylight, and took the long way around on the bus. Lauren woke up at night hearing those same 3 notes in her head. Not because they were supernatural, just because the brain latches onto a sound and won't let it go. Weeks passed. Patrols in the park increased. Another lamp was installed by the playground. Caleb's parents printed new flyers whenever the old ones faded. Once someone tore down a stack and his father shouted at the janitor, though it wasn't his fault. A donation box appeared at the store. The school held an assembly on street safety. Boxes checked. No results. The story didn't end. It just stopped being told every day, then every week, then only on anniversaries. Caleb never came back.